Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Financial Advocate Podcast. This is Colin Meeks. I'm a certified financial planner, and the name of the company is Maryland Financial Advocates. My co-host,
Ryan Stark.
And Ryan is an LPL financial advisor as well. And today we're sort of going to do probably something pretty taboo, right? We're going to peel back the curtain and just get into costs and fees and what we actually charge to work with somebody, the cost of doing business with us. Some financial advisors are very transparent as far as what they charge. Others, maybe not so much.
Yep.
We're always big proponents. So if when we meet with somebody, whether it's a potential client or an existing client, we don't hide from fees. We'll put it down there. The percentage it is, the cost, the hour, per hour, the whatever it is internal in the investments they own. I mean, we want you to know exactly what you're paying and why you're paying it. And that's for a couple of reasons. I mean, number one, you should. If you're going to buy something, you want to know what the cost is. Sure. And we find way too many times, and when we meet with somebody, they have no idea what they're paying their current advisor. Things have just sort of gone along for so long that they've never asked, and they've never been told, and they've never been offered. And it's not a bad thing. It's bad for us. We think it's bad, but if it's just people don't think about it. It's not not that important to them, but it should be important because every little bit makes a difference. So cost. The second thing is it holds your advisor accountable. I mean, if you're paying your advisor $2,000 a year, what are they doing for it?
Yeah.
I mean, are you getting a phone call every quarter? Are you getting a meeting once or twice a year? Do you feel like you're bothering them when you call to ask something, or do you feel the other way around that you're the one, that's doing all the work in the relationship? So we want to make sure that what we're getting paid and what the cost is, so that we're being held accountable. So we're going to go through line by line what all of our costs are and tell you exactly what it is. And that might scare 90% of our listeners away, and they might say, we're never going to call Colin and Ryan to go through their process, but that's fine by us.
Might as well get it over with now.
Right, might as well get it over with now. I mean, I will tell you, just a couple weeks ago, Ryan and I were just talking before we started recording this, and long story short, I'll tell the whole story. So we met with a lady about a year ago, and went through our process, and God knows why we didn't wind up finishing the process, but decided to work with her on a different basis than we normally do. And this year we did an annual review with her, and turned out that we found out that what we do as a financial planning practice really would help her to hire us. So we laid it back out there again. Said, here's what the actual fee would be if we did everything that we said we were going to do last year. And she was like overly offended by the whole thing, and it really, really hit home for us as to, the value that we brought throughout the whole year of doing business with her. We just didn't get paid for it, and it's just, and she didn't feel like we were worth it. So it's, one of those things where, the relationship did not start off and continue on the right path, and for either of us, and it wasn't fair to either of us because, she didn't feel like she should have to pay for what we were doing, and we felt like we were doing a lot of work for free, which we were, and it just, it just sort of, I don't know, this is one of those transparent moments where we're probably telling you too much, but...
No, I completely agree. I mean, and why we do this and why we're correcting it is we are human beings here, even though it's growing a business, but we learn from our mistakes and realize that that's somebody who already had an advisor, and we probably should have just either said, here's what we do, or go on your own, and just left it at that. But it's you're trying to help somebody. I feel like the way she displayed her current relationship is, I thought we were going to do a much better job, and thought eventually the plan was going to take place, but it didn't. So we skipped over a few steps and learned our lesson. Yeah,
and I don't know how we got down that road. I just started thinking and babbling out loud. So
that's good.
Our show notes, which we don't have any. So here's how we work. So basically, again, right, if you listened to this before, we're very heavy into the plan. Doing a financial plan for somebody before we recommend any investment products, any insurance products, moving any assets, buying anything, selling anything. We want to put a plan in place first. So how this works is our initial planning fee right now, our initial consultation fee, we charge $297. And that basically covers the first 2 meetings. Ryan, first meeting, what's that look like?
It's really just like a first date, as you always mentioned. I really like that analogy. We're just except without all the lying and pretending like you're a really cool person. We're data gathering and we're trying to get all the information from you, all your concerns, all your goals, everything that's going on in your life, kids' names and ages, all that stuff that we can. So that we can at least provide you some value in the second meeting and kind of giving you a leg up of where you currently are, and then letting you, it kind of leads into how you can do this on your own or how you can work with us.
Right, and our main niches are, we deal with families that are raising a child with special needs, so we use this process for that. If you're caring for an aging parent or an aging relative, we do elder care financial planning. And then if you are somebody that's just looking for a traditional financial plan, retirement planning, things like that, we have a planning process for that. But the process is exactly the same on the front end. So it is data gathering. We mail you out or email you out a checklist of things to bring. We're not going to. We used to send out a 5 or 6 page questionnaire where we would ask you to fill in all this information. And we found out that quite frankly that just scared the hell out of people. They just they looked at that and they would call and cancel the meeting. Yeah. I don't want to fill all this out because this is scary. So we send out a checklist. These are the 10 things you want to bring into the meeting, and bring those along and sort of leave them off to the side because we're not going to dive right into them right away. We're not diving into your tax return within the first 10 minutes of our meeting, or we're not diving into your investment statements. We sort of leave those on the side and walk through a conversation. And at some point in time, they might come out. We might say, okay, let's look at them, and we might say, hey, we don't need to see those yet. We'll just sort of shoot copies of them, and if we need them, and put those into our folders and use them for when we do the next meeting.
Yep.
So that the first meeting usually lasts usually about an hour.
Yeah, about an hour,
give or take, depending on how much information we get into. Mm-hmm. So then what we do is we take all that information we have from the first meeting, and Ryan and I will sit down and go through a couple of hours on the back end, and we will go through our notes together. We both take notes, and we'll sort of bounce everything we heard off of each other to make sure that we heard everything that we thought we heard. Because sometimes Ryan will hear something one way and I'll hear it another, so we want to match all that stuff up. And we'll take all of the stuff from the checklist that we have, and we'll just start to put together a couple of key documents. We'll do a statement of net worth, we'll do a task list of things that we think that need to happen, and we'll look at your goals. If you said, hey, I want to retire at age 63 and I want to have $6,000 a month of net income, we'll put that as a goal. Or you say, if I want to save $40,000 for my daughter to get married, we will put that as a goal. If you say, I have a child that has special needs and I want to fund a special needs trust, how do I go about doing that? We'll put that as a goal. I could ramble off 15 different goals, but some of the most common ones are those. Or if I have an elder care, we're dealing with an elder care financial planning client. It's they might need assisted living facility, and how am I going to fund that? Or how do I engineer their assets in a way where they're not going to spend it on a nursing home? So there's all different types of goals that we put into play. But when we come back to that second meeting, we present, basically we're going to tell you back what you told us, which is not anything that we're doing to make us, we're not geniuses. We just put it all on a sheet of paper, put it down in front of you and say, okay, here's what you told us, and then we'll start walking through some of the solutions.
Yeah, and I would say that the 297, more so people look at it as like, oh, I get 2 meetings, but really that's compensating us for the background that we're doing to prepare for meeting 2.
Right.
Sitting in front of you and having a conversation is, not too cumbersome for us, and it's not that difficult. There's a lot of one-off things we can answer, a lot of simple questions, but there's a lot of background work that has to be done too, and that's why we charge.
Yeah, and I own a bunch of rental properties, and when I call a plumber, it's $200 for them just to drive to the house to even tell me if they can fix a problem or not. So our goal was to not get rich off of an initial planning meeting fee. We charge $297. That includes an hour on the front end, about 2 or 3 hours in the middle, and then another hour on the back end when we meet to present. So. Yeah. So when we sit down in the second meeting, we will present to you, like I said, just a summary of everything we've talked about. Excuse me. And then a task list of things that we think we can help you with, and then just some general summary and recommendations of things that if you said, okay, I wanted to retire at age 63 with X amount of dollars of income, we'll say, okay, well, here's how we could probably help you get there or help you work towards getting there. With your Social Security and your assets that you have, and if there's any pensions, if there's any inheritances coming your way, and we just sort of try to match all that stuff up. The one thing that I do know about financial planning is it's almost the exact time you hit the button in the software that says, okay, here's what the numbers are, it's going to change, because markets change, your goals, your numbers change, tax rates change. So there's no financial planning software out there that's going to put you down to the penny. What we try to do is get you in this thing called what we call the corridor of, what sort of probability of success do we have? Do we have a 50% chance of hitting your goal? Well, if that's the case, we need to work a little harder. Maybe adjust the goal, or save more money, or reduce what you're trying to do. But if we get up into the 80s and 90 percentile and say, okay, we've got an 80% of reaching the goal, then we know we're getting close. We can hit 100%. It's going to make us feel good, but there's never a 100% chance of anything happening.
Right. Agreed.
So our goal in the second meeting is to say, okay, here's what you told us. Here's what we think we're able to help you with, and is there any sort of common ground there? Is there a common ground for us going forward to work with you? And if there is, then we sort of take the next step. I will tell you that sometimes there's not. Sometimes we either we're not able to get close on the probability of success. Somebody doesn't. The first two meetings are just exactly what they need to sort of set them in motion to do it on their own, which is fine. We go into it with the understanding of we're not looking at the end of the second meeting to have everybody sign agreements and move all their money and do all the things that we say they're going to do. The goal of the first two meetings is to find out, is there sort of some common ground that we can do.
Yeah, agreed. Not everybody needs a plan, but everybody we work with has one.
Right. So, and we sort of made that switch over the last, we're making that switch over the last year or two, to make our business to make us more valuable to our clients, to make it what we do more valuable, so that we're able to do a better job.
Yeah.
So at the end of that second meeting, what happens? Because I'm sure you're wondering, well, $300 for somebody to do all this work is, what's the catch? Well, the catch is, or you look at it as a catch or not, but if you would like us to complete the financial plan, and that basically means now we're really getting granular and getting down to the nitty-gritty details of saying, okay, let's look at the exact Social Security numbers. Let's look down to the penny of all the different accounts. Let's look at the holdings. Let's look at, if you have 10 different holdings, let's analyze those holdings and see, are they the right, are those mutual funds the right ones for you to own? Are the stocks the right ones to own? Let's look at your 401k. Are they, is that allocated the right way? Are there IRAs? Is there a future inheritance? What about your life insurance? What about your disability insurance? What about all these things that, we sort of got a high level view of in the first two meetings, but now we'll go back and really put the nitty gritty details in and say, okay, this is what the actual plan is going to look like. In order to do that, our financial planning fee is $2,000. So we take the $2,000, we knock off what you've already paid us, so it puts it around $1,700, and that is for us and Ryan and I to go back and do a full-blown financial plan. That takes a couple more hours of our time. We've already spent a lot of time on the front end to get most of the information there. We're probably about 70% done on the front end, but then the extra information that we add in there, and we give you a checklist of things or a list of things that we might have missed. You got to get us this information back before we can complete this.
Yeah, and I would say that the first two meetings of us providing value, we're definitely going to give you something you haven't thought of, but it's more about what was on your mind and how can we either solve that problem or give you that answer. And I think the plan really leads into us presenting you with things that you never thought of.
Right. And the main concerns that people have when it comes to retirement planning, the main concern people have is, am I going to run out of money? That's the main concern. When we're doing special needs planning, it's what happens when I'm gone, and who's going to take care of my son or daughter who is now an adult with special needs? Who's going to take care of them? Who can I trust to dole out the money? Is there going to be enough money there to do what I need to do? And then when it comes to elder care planning, it's, who's going to take care of mom and dad? Are they going to run out of money? Are they going to get the care they need? Are they going to blow through all the money? Are there other government programs in play that we might be able to take advantage of? So all these things come into play, and people, a lot of times people say, well, why do I need to pay for a financial plan? And our answer is, we need that to manage the outcome that you told us you wanted. We need that plan in place. We can't throw darts at a board and try to figure out what to do. We would rather go back to the plan and say, okay, this is what we want to do to manage that outcome, whether it's a year down the road, 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road. We want to make sure that we're managing the outcome. The only way that we know how to do that, because there's just so many moving parts, is we need to go back and look at the plan and make sure it's continually being updated.
It keeps us organized, and it allows us to provide more value for you. At the end of the day, we can go back. It's not that we don't remember, but obviously there's little details, things we write down, there's notes that we have, so that we're exactly on par with what you need.
Yeah, and again, this is a process that doesn't work for everybody. If you're just coming in because for the first 2 meetings and just want that broad overview, we're more than happy to do that for you. It's not a matter of we get enough people coming through the office where we're turning business away at the same time people are turning us away. We're just trying to find the right fit. So this process is, and you really need to see it in real time to understand if it's for you or not. And that's why we offer the first 2 meetings, and we do it in a way that, we're paid a little bit of money for our time. It's not costing you an arm and a leg to figure out if it's worth it or not. I will tell you this, the worst thing in the world, the model that I absolutely hate, is the free consultation model. And the reason I hate that is and I spent the first 15 years of my career doing it this way, so I can speak from experiences. In order for the free consultation model to work, somebody's got to buy something at some point. And that means that somebody's trying to sell you something at some point. And that somebody that's trying to sell you something at some point may or may not be the best thing for you at that time, but it's got to happen in order for that person to get paid to do all the work on the front end. I used to do all this work on the front end for people in hopes that it would look just so wonderful, and they would just throw their arms up and say, this is what I've been looking for years, but it never happened. They were just, oh, it was free, I got it, oh great, I'll just take it and do it on my own.
Yeah.
And it's just not a model that can help. It's just not a model that works both ways for a planner and a client.
Right, and the reason I like doing this is because it feels more transparent. We let them know exactly up front, just like this podcast, of exactly what's going to happen, and what's going to happen walking in, and then we just get to reiterate exactly what we already described to you. But you don't have to come in here and then say, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm doing, and then the guy has to go, okay, this is what's going to cost in all these different areas. We're kind of controlling that at the beginning of the plan.
Yeah, and so those are the 2 main costs, or two of the costs. The other costs involved would be, well, if you decide to let us help implement the plan. And on the implementation side of things, there can be a couple of things that happen. If you would like us to help you invest money or manage assets, we have a fee schedule for that. It would cost you anywhere between, say, 1 and 1.5% of whatever the account value is to have us manage it for you. And the reason I throw that range out there is because it depends on the account size, it depends on who's managing the money, who we choose, whether it's Vanguard or American Funds or any of the other money managers we have access to. It would depend on the relationship that you expect to have happen, how involved we need to be. So those are the second layer of costs would be if we manage assets. So to give you an idea of that, if there's a $100,000 account that we manage and we're charging 1% a year to keep numbers simple, that would mean that costs $1,000 a year. I will tell you that, every investment out there has internal costs, or they do have costs, whether they're internal or external. We tell you both sides of it. What the cost is buried in the investment, and then what the cost is for us to manage it. And then it's all broken out on the statement, which is very easy to understand. The other thing would be if there's any insurance that needs to be implemented. So if we're doing a special needs plan for somebody and we're funding a special needs trust and there's life insurance involved, we'll tell you what our commission is. We don't have to, you'll never know about it, but there's a commission involved in any type of insurance product you buy. We'll tell you what we earn, because we only think it's fair that you know exactly what our compensation is in there. If there's an annuity, if somebody wants to buy an annuity, or we think that that's the right fit for the plan, we will tell people what our commission is on that as well. Again, all written out verifiable. We'll call the companies. I mean, not that we ever get that deep into it with people, but we want to make sure that you know exactly what you're paying, what we're earning, so that it's a fair, transparent arrangement.
And when we're not making money.
Right.
Sometimes we'll suggest online bank accounts and CDs because that's the direction they want to go, rather than maybe a fixed annuity or something else for a small pot of money. And we want to be clear that we're helping you towards this, but it's not something we're going to set up and manage and look at because we don't have control over those things.
Right.
We don't have access to it.
Yeah, and the beauty of the financial plan, and we always go back to that plan, is that we can pull all that data in, and we might not be managing something, but we can look at it and see. And say, oh, you've got an extra $20,000 in your savings account. Maybe you didn't know about it. Maybe it's a good time to start relooking at, adding that to fund some of your other goals.
Okay.
Excuse me. So you have the $297 upfront fee. You've got the $1,700 fee to complete the plan. If there's assets to be managed, if there's if there's insurance to be purchased, those are all things that can come into play. And again, we fully write that out and show you exactly what that is. There's some other fees that we have no control over, but we've seen happen along the way. If we need to refer you to an attorney to do legal documents, that's that's their deal. We don't get referral fees. We will just send you, or you can choose your attorney. But there are other fees there. If there's tax work that needs to be done, we don't do income taxes or any tax returns. Maybe you need to hire somebody to help you do your taxes. That's another fee. So again, we try to give it a big picture and show you exactly what the costs are to do business. But again, we use the same process whether you're doing any type of planning, whether it's special needs, elder care, traditional financial planning, and we only think it's fair that you know the cost. So that's start to finish, and it could take, the first 2 meetings are sort of straightforward. We might need 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 meetings to go from there to implement everything. But the other thing is what we do with all of our financial plans is we write that annual schedule of events in there. And you get a copy, we get a copy, we put it in our contact management software where we're proactive about reaching out to you at certain times during the year when you want to be called. Hey, call me in March to make sure I got my tax statements. Call me in October to make sure that, if there's any tax issues that I might have to clear up by the end of the year. If there's a special needs trust that needs to be funded or money that needs to be distributed, we want to sort of help you through those processes. So anything that needs to happen in your financial life that we can help you with, we can be proactive about it, because life happens. Once people walk out of our offices, 10 minutes from them, they're not thinking about their financial plan. They're thinking about what's for dinner tonight, what do I have to do with the kids, or when am I going on vacation, or what bills need to be paid. So we understand that. And we know that when you hire us and you pay us a fee, our job is to do our job.
Good. And that fee is one time. The planning fee is one time.
Right.
The $297 is one time. But it's not that we continue to monitor the plan, but we don't continue to charge the fee. Part of us, getting paid for watching your investments is how we're getting paid, and obviously, that warrants a couple meetings a year if you want to sit down and talk, unlimited phone calls and emails, and however you want to stay in contact. But it's not a reoccurring thing that we charge you for, but you continue to get the same service.
Exactly. So the planning fee, once we do it on the front end, it's done. We update it as a matter of course of our business, and as we work with clients year in and year out, we are compensated through the various fee structures that we've already talked about. So we're not like attorneys where if you call us, we're going to send you a bill. We don't have hourly fees, so that's not going to be the case. So that's sort of how we are set up as a financial planning practice. And again, I've been doing this since 1994. I've tried every possible fee structure, scenario, way to do things, and it's this way. It's fair to the advisor, but more importantly, it's fair to the client. And with us having that standard of being your fiduciary, we want to make sure that we're held to that higher standard of making sure everything we do is in your best interest. So fees are a big part of that, and we want to make sure that you know about those. So this is like 25 minutes talking about fees. This is way more than I've ever talked about this in my life. Yeah. But it's an important part of the process. But always keep in mind, our goal is to outperform that fee. If you're paying us a $2,000 financial planning fee, we want to get in there and dig and find all these ways that you're saving money in all these other places so that we justify our fee. We want to make sure we're looking at all those things, and if it's not a fair arrangement, we will be the first ones to tell you. If we don't think we should charge you anything for a plan, or we don't think a plan can help you, we're not going to go through the process just to do that.
Yep. Whether it's, shopping out insurance to save you money, looking at a better social security strategy. Obviously, if we think we can adjust your investments a little bit, whatever we think we need to do in order to compensate for that fee, we always feel confident being able to find that amount of money that you're paying in there somewhere.
Right, and the big place, like Ryan said, I mean, normally we can, shop out life insurance is one big place. Another place is investment expenses. I mean, there are some, pretty expensive investments out there to own. If we're able to replace those with things that are comparable in everything but the fee, then, we feel that that's we're able to save those expenses, but not guaranteed, but we can try, and we can show you how we can try.
Okay.
So there you go. If you have an interest in this type of planning, please feel free to get in touch with us. Again, we do, the areas where we practice. We can meet with you in our office in the Baltimore area of Maryland, but we also do some virtual planning too. So we have clients as far out as somewhere in Washington, right?
Washington,
Walla Walla, Washington, I think.
Yeah.
Oregon. Yeah, we in between. So, we do a lot of virtual planning, meaning by video or by phone or, FaceTime or any way we can get in touch with you. We're more than happy to do it. We do like the face-to-face because, it's easier to read somebody face-to-face and understand things, but we also realize that, not everything is perfect. So if you are not in this area and you'd still like to talk to us, we're more than happy to do part of the process or even all of the process with you, or at least consider talking about it with you to see if it's a fit. So feel free to get in touch. We love doing these podcasts. This has actually turned out to be one of my more favorite ones because
I agree.
just talking about money.
Yeah.
And how we can make money.
Everybody wants to know what the cost is. That's the truth. And when you're looking at something, you're looking at an ad, it says call this number, you're not sure what it costs yet, and you're waiting to get the sales process. I think being transparent is one of my favorite things because it sets up the best relationship.
Yep.
And I always hate when somebody didn't know what something costs and they find out later. Then they're going to justify whether that's good or not. I want it to be in the beginning, so
Yep.
before we get started, so that shoe doesn't drop at the end and nothing feels weird later.
Yep. And there is no other shoe to drop in our
Right.
process.
Right.
I mean, another shoe to drop is not happening because you know all of it going forward. So.
Right.
Wow, 27 minutes, long podcast, but hopefully it's been worth it for you guys. Feel free to get in touch. Thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next time. Thanks.
Thanks.